Yes, welcome into Sports Bit Betting Insight today. Pauly and Teddy, weekend preview edition, big game breakdown, NFL baby, Seahawks and Packers. We got the Sunday night game, Giants and the Cowboys, Cardinals and the Lions, and also Oakland and the Tennessee Titans. Bad beats, bad bets, bad for the books coming up. How about this? Patriots blown out at home, and they give up a ton of points. This was strange. The Patriots were 105-2 when they had the lead in the fourth quarter. It was Kansas City was the first AFC opponent to beat Brady at home when he played the entire game for the first time since 2006. And the Patriots had won 87 games in a row at home when they had the lead at the half. Last team to do that, the Dolphins in 2000. Teddy, it was a horror show defensively. Chiefs running wide open all over the field.
Yeah, the Chiefs ran wild over the Patriots defense. And, of course, the wise guys all over Kansas City. Before kickoff, all the sharp shots took a bunch of Chiefs money, line driven back down to -8 for New England at most of those shops. It was -9 at most places in Vegas. The under took a ton of money to do, down to 47.5. Obviously, that was pretty dead early. But, we got a bad beat from that game. How about the Pats first half, -6.5?
Sure.
That looked pretty strong. You had 2 touchdowns called back on penalties. They got stuffed on fourth down. And then Charlie checkdown goes 92 yards right before the half. This is a Patriots team that hadn't allowed a 90-yard drive in the last 4 seasons at home. They gave up 3 last night, Pauly. 3.
Yep. Fourth quarter's yards, 227-31. Also, New England was +1 in the turnover battle and +84 in penalty yards. The Chiefs had a ton of penalties. And the Kansas City still beat the spread by 23 points. But, good job by you. We'll talk about this. Don't be a prisoner of the moment and overreact to the last thing you saw. You want to bet against the Patriots? Good luck. Remember, the last time these teams played in the regular season, these clowns in the national media did the same thing because it was 41-14 on Monday night. End of an era. Get rid of Brady. It's over. Belichick doesn't know what he's doing. And they won 2 Super Bowls since then. So, it was awful. But, this has happened before, Teddy, especially when they've lost in week 1.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, look, we can go back to 2003. Remember the Patriots cut Lawyer Malloy and the Bills signed him right before week 1? And then, boom, a 31-0 opening day loss at Buffalo. Yeah, those 2003 Patriots went 14-1 the rest of the way. They won the Super Bowl. 2014, they lost at Miami opening day. You talked about that loss against KC when they got blown out on Monday Night Football. They were 2-2 at that point. Yeah, that team ended up winning the Super Bowl too. In fact, New England has won the Super Bowl following their last 3 opening day losses. The 2001 team lost on opening day as well. So, let's not panic if you're a Patriots fan. You feel good if you have New England season win under. But what we saw from New England defensively, you showed up that graphic. Flash it again. Fourth quarter yards. This is when you expect the Patriots to dominate. Kansas City, 227 in the fourth quarter. New England only 31. Charlie checkdown wasn't Charlie checkdown last night. Alex Smith stretched the field. And boy, Kareem Hunt, Tyreek Hill made a whole lot of plays for Kansas City.
Yeah, blown coverage too by Gilmore, who they gave $60 million to. Bad beats. Bad bets, bad for the books in a second. How about some steam here on some of these college football games? There's money on Ohio after Purdue looked good against Louisville. That game's tonight. And we also seem to... This didn't make sense. They played last year. Oregon lost. So what? They beat Southern Utah? This is too much respect for Taggart and Levitt coming in now. Oregon, a 2-touchdown favorite against Nebraska at home.
Yeah, I mean, the Bobcats, you talk about Ohio U taking money against Purdue, and that line already down to 3.5. We're starting to see 3s popping up. So if you like Ohio U plus the points for tonight, there's some urgency to get your wager down right about now. When it comes to Nebraska, Oregon, we've seen the money show for Nebraska. The betting markets, kind of steamed it up. Oregon was as high as -14. And yeah, I mean, the Ducks, last year they led in Lincoln 20-7. They ended up losing that game 35-32. Wild back and forth contest. And certainly the market said 14 was too high for Oregon. The money for Nebraska has driven it down to 13.5, 13 at many books.
So they're playing games with this Georgia Notre Dame line. Plenty of money on Stanford now as the dog, as we talked about our big game breakdown. Stanford and Shaw have been terrific in this spot. In Utah, in the Holy War, now the favorite against BYU.
Yeah, I mean, the Irish are back up to as high as -6 against Georgia. We've seen two-way action on that game. The initial money came on the Bulldogs. Now we're seeing Irish money. Stanford USC has been one way. We yesterday on the show we gave out the Cardinal +6.5. That's gone. The +6s are gone. Now it's 5.5 in most spots against USC. And this is a line that was 9.5 when you're talking about the look-ahead lines over the summer for this contest. So the value on the Cardinal rapidly diminishing. And yeah, in the Battle of the Beehive State, we had a switch of favorites. Utah was the dog. Now they're up to -2.5 against BYU. -3 is popping up. No one impressed with what they've seen from the Cougars so far this season.
And look at this moving a total. Syracuse, Middle Tennessee State, 68.5 to 75.5. Mercy.
Well, they're betting Dino Babers over, I mean, we saw that at Bowling Green 2 years ago where they were an over machine. Last year, Syracuse offensively was banged up, really banged up as the season progressed. But certainly the markets respect the fact the Orange are back to full strength, and they're going to be expected to run an extraordinarily fast pace. That's why we're seeing all that money on the over between Syracuse and Middle Tennessee State.
How about some bad bets? The Reds took money, opened $1.10, closed $1.35. This was anti-Harvey money. Mets win there, and the Phillies took a lot of money. Opened plus $1.50, closed as low as $1.15 at the MGM. Nola pitched well, bullpen blew at 4-3 Nats.
Yeah, I mean, with Harvey, I can understand the bettors wanting to fade Matt Harvey. He's not right. I mean, the Reds got to him for a couple of runs early, and then that was it. It wasn't like Cincy's offense was on fire last night, but Matt Harvey faced 22 batters last night. He got one strikeout. You can expect money to continue to come in on Matt Harvey in future starts. And when you talk about Philly, I mean, they love Nola. We've been talking about Aaron Nola all year. Nola pitched great yesterday, but Adam Morgan couldn't hold the lead. And that ended up being a bad bet because of the Phillies bullpen. Phillies 35-cent move towards Philadelphia. The books got to keep all that money.
Cubs Pirates total 8.5 down to 7.5. Lester gets revenge against the Pirates. Cubs win 8-2. And oh my God, here it is. The Dodgers have lost 12 of 13. They've lost 11.5 games in the standings in 13 days. They opened $3, closed as high as $3.40 at win. Kershaw finally gets beat. He's now 16-3 on the season, and he was roughed up. It was 3-0 Rockies in a hurry.
It was 3-0 Rockies after the first three batters of the game with Nolan Arenado with the 3-run dinger. Kershaw didn't finish the fourth. The Dodgers lineup, we talked about how potent it is. Well, they've been held to 1 run or 0 runs 7 times in their last 13 ball games. You don't want to press the panic button. I'm not going to press the panic button because I've been reading the quotes. And Dave Roberts has said, early September, we're going to work on getting guys into different situations than they're normally used to. They're trying to build a postseason roster. If this continues to the back end of September, maybe we're concerned. But 11.5 games in the standings, the thing about the Dodgers, they played so well this season, they can afford to give up 11.5 games in the standings. That Cubs-Pirates under, where the bettors got half of it right. Lester got his revenge against a team that he had his single worst start of his career against right before the All-Star break. But the Cubs lineup got going yesterday. 13 hits, 8 for extra bases. That sent the game over the total after bettors had pounded the under.
Here's a bad beat and bad for the books. I guess it depends what you had. But if you had Florida State under, this is a tough beat because the game was canceled against Louisiana Monroe. It's one thing to lose to Alabama, but their best player, Francois, out for the year, and they have to start a true freshman at quarterback. So now it's a refund because they're not going to play a full schedule, but we've had 5 games canceled, Teddy, so there's going to be a ton of refunds.
Yeah, exactly. All the Florida schools, the season win totals, for the game, the squads that had schools for the squads that had games get canceled, all those season win bets get refunded. Different books will have different policies. Some books will refund right away. Other books will wait till the end of the season before issuing a refund. But the bottom line is, if you had Florida State under, they lose opening day, they lose their quarterback. What a great bet. You're locked and loaded to cash that. Oops. Now they don't play a full schedule. And that Florida State great bet on the under that you made, you get a refund. But that's kind of a bad beat.
Yep. One more. This is the perfect storm. Kluber going. Indians have won 14 in a row, and it was Rodon who was scratching. It was Pelfrey who got the start. Indians were $4 road favorites here at stations in Las Vegas. They've dropped 11-2. That's 15 wins in a row for the Indians, tying a club record.
And the whole thing with this Cleveland winning streak, it's like it feels like it's underhyped. You know, the Dodgers went on a crazy winning streak. Everyone's talking about the Dodgers. The D-backs been on this crazy winning streak. Here in Vegas, they've attracted a lot of attention. Cleveland, they just keep winning real quietly. But bet up to what? -$4 in yesterday's ball game. Pelfrey came in, gave up 4 in the top of the first. The route was on. That was a bad result for the house. This Cleveland Indians winning streak. Well, they're certainly playing their best ball down the stretch of the campaign.
Up next, we go rapid fire. Week 1 NFL, big game breakdown. We start with the Seahawks and Packers and the Sunday night game, the Giants and the Cowboys on SportsBit. Betting Insight today on SBRpicks.com.
Go to SBRodds.com. Browse, compare, and shop live odds available at top online sportsbooks.
Back on SportsBit, Pauly and Teddy, Betting Insight today. Time for big game breakdown. Always powered and sponsored by BetOnline. Exceptional customer service and strong promotions, every type of wager you're looking for. Go to sportsbookreview.com for the latest and best offers to open a new account today. Great late game. Seahawks and the Packers. Green Bay at home, 351 the total. Packers were number 3 in scoring last year, and Rodgers did it without a true running back. Now they think they have that in Ty Montgomery. 5.9 yards per rush on 77 attempts. Not enough to qualify, but a full half yard above the leading qualifier, Shady McCoy, at 5.4. It's interesting what they found. We talked about it all year here on SportsBit, Teddy, the weapon that they found in this guy.
Sure, and of course, Ty Montgomery doesn't fit the standard profile for NFL back. He was drafted as a wide receiver and has that level of capability coming out of the backfield. So here's a Packers team. We always talk Aaron Rodgers, Aaron Rodgers, Aaron Rodgers. Ty Montgomery is expected to be a focal point of this offense this season. Here's the quote. I do understand the mismatch problem that's there, especially in terms of identifying how they're going to play me. Are they going to treat me as a receiver, or are they going to treat me as a running back? When I split out, who's going to cover me? When I'm in the box, what are they going to do? I did notice that going on. We're talking about a guy who's a real matchup problem for defenses right now. And of course, the Packers brought in their former running back, Brandon Jackson, to work with them in the offseason about learning all the different aspects of the running back position, obviously for a converted wide receiver. Here's what offense coordinator Edgar Bennett had to say about Brandon Jackson's tutelage of Ty Montgomery. Quote, as far as knowing his assignment and the fundamentals and the technique and how to get it done, he was one of the best by far. For Ty getting an opportunity to spend some time with Brandon, it helps from more of a technical standpoint than anything else. I think it's certainly beneficial from him to learn from a player of Brandon's caliber. This Packers offense is dangerous when they didn't have a running game. If they have a balanced offense, this offense could be really tough to stop, even for an elite stop unit like that of the Seahawks.
Seattle 19-6-2 ATS as a dog since Carroll's first season. Open 0-2 ATS in second season. 19-4-2 since then. The offensive line may still be a problem, but Wilson's healthy again. So will that mean he's going to scramble and run more? Look at this graphic. His attempts and yards per rush from 94 to 96 to 118 to 103, only 72 last year. Here's Wilson, quote, before I was able to get a lot of big first downs by running it, which is a big part of the game, extensions of plays too, but I thought that we had a really good year offensively. We have to be looking forward to getting better, and I feel 100% healthy and ready to roll. That's big as well. Do you think they've fixed the offensive line, though?
No, certainly they didn't show any evidence of having fixed the offensive line in the preseason, but more than any quarterback in the NFL, Russell Wilson has proven the ability to make plays and avoid mistakes, despite running for his life half the time that he drops back to pass. Now, this is a team that couldn't run the football last year, which is going to be a problem if they can't run the football against this year. I do have concerns about the offensive line, but Wilson's healthy coming into the campaign. Remember, they have Earl Thomas back on D. When he got hurt last year, down the stretch, that defense, I'm not going to say collapsed, but it certainly wasn't the same stop unit that it had been. And we're talking about a team, you said, 19-6-2 ATS as dogs under Carroll since the first season. They opened 0-2 in the second season. So they're on a 19-4 ATS run as dogs. They've had 4 losses and 2 pushes. So only 4 of their last 25 games they've been underdog. They've lost against the spread. In my mind, that's meaningful to talk about. Certainly, Pete Carroll's
they're also horrible in Lambeau. Since 2003, Seattle's 0-6 straight up and 1-5 against the number, too. So that's something to worry about. Sunday night game, Giants and the Cowboys. Bet online number, Dallas 4, 48 the total. I don't know what to do here. Elliott's going to play. Beckham, who knows if Beckham goes. The Giants swept the Cowboys last year. One of the games was 10-7. They shut down Des Bryant, who only had 2 catches in both games. Elliott did nothing in week 1. He went off in the week 2 game with over 100 yards. Eli struggled, and Dak struggled as well. More on that coming up. Was Zeke Elliott prepared to start this week? Or did the news of the suspension catch him off guard and he's surprised to play? Jason Garrett will talk to Zeke every day. His focus has been excellent throughout the entire process. He seems very focused, locked in on meetings to walk through. He's done an excellent job in his preparation. Dak said the moment he walks in here, he's locked in and football's the only thing on his mind. I can tell you when he's in here, he's in this locker room or he's at practice or in the film room. None of the outside world's going to go through his head, or we remind him of that and stay focused. He's going to need some help, though, because Prescott, his 2016 passer rating, was 3rd in the league at 104.9, but it was 58.6 against the Giants. It was a nasty defense. Again, they shut them down in both meetings, Teddy.
They sure did, and that's why, Dallas, in theory, revenge and a chip on their shoulder and all that. Look, Dak Prescott finished number 3 in the NFL in quarterback rating last year. If you take away the 2 games against the Giants, he would have finished number 1 in QB rating for the entire season. But the 2 games against the Giants, 42 of 82 combined, 392 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, only 1 a touchdown pass. So clearly, the Giants defense was able to game plan against Dallas better than any other defense in the league last year. Oh, that Giants defense brings just about every key player back for the 2017 campaign. And of course, you are talking about Zeke Elliott as a guy who didn't think he was going to be playing at the beginning of the season. Did he maintain his conditioning? We'll find that out on Sunday.
Yeah. Also, as our stats guy likes to say, McAdoo's got the Denny's menu on the sideline. McAdoo getting too much credit. The Giants went from 6-10 to 11-5, but the offense struggled. He's supposed to be an offensive guy, and the Giants fell from 19th to 22nd in offense, but it was the defense who was nasty, would spend all that money. They went from 31st to 2nd, the biggest jump in NFL history, as they got a lot of injured guys back as well. Eli Manning era, the Giants' offensive rank, no McAdoo, 13.9. McAdoo was head coach in OC, 17.3. Giants have been slightly above average with Eli before McAdoo got there, and then slightly below average. The Football Outsiders numbers, anything you want to look at, the Giants were terrific on defense.
Yeah, the defensive numbers are great. But here's Bob McAdoo, who got hired. Oh, I'm an offensive guru. I'm an offensive genius. And very clearly, the Giants' offense has been worse in the McAdoo era than before that he got there. Now, some of that may be Eli Manning getting old. Some of that maybe the offensive line hasn't been as good. But my concern for this game for the Giants, you talked about OBJ and how banged up he is. It's not just OBJ. The Giants' top 5 wide receivers are all walking wounded, limping around, unable to practice, not right. That's a concern when you're talking about going into Dallas and beating the Cowboys, especially given the season that Eli had last year and the decline of this offense. The Giants' whole game plan is predicated on throwing the ball downfield. They don't have any healthy receivers. That's likely to be a problem on Sunday night.
We continue with the Cardinals and Lions and the Raiders and Titans, a rematch of last year on SportsBit. Betting Insight today on SBRPicks.com.
Research before you bet. Be sure to check out SBR Picks for the best game predictions, breakdowns, and much, much more.
Wrapping up on SportsBit, Betting Insight today, Pauly and Teddy. Big game breakdown rolls on. Play of the day coming up, and it's from this game, Arizona and Detroit. Arizona, the road favorite now. Movement on this and movement on Arizona's win total. Arizona's 2-48 at BetOnline. Carson Palmer looked old in 2016. You look at this graphic, completion percentage down from 63.7 to 61. Yards per pass, 8.7 to 7.1. And a huge drop in the passer rating, 104.6 to 87.2. But the offensive line was terrible, Teddy. Didn't help them out.
No, not even a little bit. I mean, the Cardinals' offensive line last year, let's see. Arizona was number 29 in sacks allowed. They were number 30 in QB hits allowed. Injuries were a problem. It wasn't just ineffectiveness. They were banged up. 10 different players got at least one start. The only guy that played in every game at his position was the center, A.Q. Shipley. Other than that, it was a revolving door of offensive linemen for Arizona that really affected Palmer. You talk about the passer rating down. The yards per pass from 8.7 per attempt to 7.1 in a single season. That's an enormous drop-off. Look at the quote from offensive coordinator Harold Goodwin. Either you protect him or I'm not going to protect you. We got to do a better job because we know Carson makes us go. Without him, it's an uphill battle. With him, the sky's the limit. Of course, in this matchup against the Lions, he may not get pressured all that much because, well, I'm going to talk about the Detroit defense in just a minute. But given the circumstances for this game where the Lions defense has issues with pass rush and with their secondary, all he's got to do is get the right calls in against a weak defense, and Arizona's supposed to be able to move the football through the air the way they did 2 years ago, not the way they did last year.
And it is a horror show. I mean, if you give them time, they'll pick them apart. Lions 9-7 with two major weaknesses last year. No ground game and a horrible defense. Lions, Football Outsiders rankings on defense, rushing efficiency 25th, total defense 32nd. How about this from our stats guy? They were 31 in sacks. They were 28 in takeaways. And the linebackers didn't have a sack, interception, or a fumble recovery. That's impossible.
Yeah, and I'm not convinced this defense is going to a whole lot better this season, especially when you consider that linebacking core. The question is Detroit going to be good enough to trade points with their opponents this season? We're talking a lot about balanced on offense on today's show, and the Lions are certainly another team that's talking about we got to establish the run game. We want to get Amir Abdullah going. He's only had 11 starts in 2 seasons since being drafted out of Nebraska. He's been banged up. And 161 for 698 yards, just 4.3 yards per carry, 30 catches at 8 yards per reception. They are really hoping to make him a focal point of this offense. His quote, "Oh man, I think it can be the best offense in the league. Really. When I'm in the huddle with Marvin Jones, I know that at any point he can catch a crossing route and take it the distance. Golden Tate can catch a bubble and take it the distance. When Theo Riddick lines up, no one in this league can guard him." So Detroit's thinking shootouts. But as you talked about defensively, secondary's weak, the pass rush is weak, the linebacking core doesn't have a whole lot of playmakers. That's all 3 units from a defense that ranked number 32 in the NFL via advanced metrics last season. I'm not convinced Detroit is going to be a whole lot better on that side of the football.
Yep, with you there. The last one, Raiders, the soon-to-be Las Vegas Raiders, taking on the Titans. Good matchup here. They played last year, and it was 17-10. Look at that total, 2.5. 50.5 the total at Bet Online. Good job by the Titans bringing in weapons for Mariota. The last 2 seasons, they get Murray and Henry at running back, Matthews, Davis, Decker, and Taylor at wide receiver. Now he doesn't have to worry about carrying the offense. He can just go out and make plays. Malarkey quote, "I'd like to just see if we can help him maybe to get us out of more situations that he knows are going to be bad plays based on defenses outflanking us, blitzes. We're putting more on his plate that he can hopefully get us to the right play." We expect the Raiders, they're still going to be a good team, but we expect them to regress because everything went their way in the close games in the turnover margin where they were plus 16. 6-2 straight up on the road, 4 games decided by 3 points or less in regulation, and they went 4-0 in those games, Teddy.
Yeah, I mean, look, Carr made a whole lot of plays down the stretch last year. So did Oakland's defense, and frankly, the luck factor was certainly on their side a year ago. But just getting back to Tennessee for 1 second, this is a squad that has really remade their roster over the last couple of years. They've got all of this offensive skill position talent, really worked on upgrading the receiving core in the offseason. The other area they spent a lot of money on was in the secondary, and that's a secondary that wasn't very good last year and is likely to be tested by the Raiders' passing game. Now, look, you talked about the fact that Oakland won a whole bunch of close games last year, won a whole bunch of close games on the highway last year. We talked about how great this offense was, but really, Football Outsiders ranked them number 10 in team efficiency. They were projected as a 9-7 type team instead of the 12-4 record that they actually had. Now, there are injury concerns here for Oakland. Khalil Mack, the NFL Defensive Player of the Year, well, he's only been doing stretching on the side in practice this week because of knee injury. So it's very much a concern, very much a concern for Oakland moving forward.
I'm big on Marshawn Lynch. I know you're not, but he comes off with a year off, and I think well rested, he can have a big year. Question is what happens if he gets hurt, though. But a ton of weapons. I also like that the Raiders got Cook, but again, Max a little dinged up. How strange is this, Teddy? The Raiders had a great season, and they have a new offensive coordinator. They promoted Downing, and Musgrave left to be the quarterback coach in Denver. That's odd. And Pagano comes in to help out Norton with the defense.
It is an odd situation in terms of the coaching staff, but there's fairly good continuity with the Raiders. We're not talking about a team. When you think about how the Raiders have been in terms of changing scheme, changing coaches, changing coordinators for a good decade, following the Super Bowl loss to the Buccaneers, this version of Oakland is much more. There's much more cohesiveness than those type of squads. They're not lurching from one to another. And certainly last season, there's positive hope in Oakland in a level that we haven't seen it for decades. Hope springs eternal at the beginning of September.
All right, football's here, baby. This is terrific. Going to be a fun 4 or 5 months coming up. Money time, play of the day, back to Arizona and Detroit. What are we doing, Teddy?
Well, let's take a look. Game number 461. We're not getting the best of the number, but for week 1, we're doing the best we can do. And that means we're going to take a look at the Arizona Cardinals minus the deuce at Detroit. A game we expect Arizona to win. The Lions were the NFL's worst defense in 2016. Without adding much talent, I would expect success to be a little bit out of reach for this defense. Again, give me Arizona minus the deuce. That's our play of the day.
That's it. Fun weekend recap. We're back Monday to run everything down. Weekend preview, rather. We're back Monday to recap everything NFL and college. You got the 4 marquee games Saturday night and week 1 on Sunday. Talk to you then. Tell your friends, damn it, on SportsBit. Betting Insight today on SBRPicks.com.